A year before Ubisoft began releasing a new Assassin's Creed game every year, they released a reboot to the Prince of Persia franchise, simply titled Prince of Persia. I remember this to be my second favorite when I played these games 5 years ago. Let's see how it stands now. Unlike the last games, this game has nothing to do with manipulating time, but it still plays like the earlier games. Instead, this game is based more on Persian mythology instead in ancient Persia. You'll play as an unnamed protagonist who's voiced by the amazing Nolan North, who is the voice of everyone's favorite, Desmond from Assassin's Creed, and Drake in Uncharted. So let's call him Drake, since the protagonist is also a thief. Well, anyway, like I was saying, you'll play as Drake in a sandstorm looking for his donkey until he comes across Alika, a princess who's running away from her father. So Drake decides to see what's up and tags along. You defend her from some guards, and soon your ticket out of this place is gone.
No, he's nothing to do with this! No!
After Alika saves you from certain death, you make your way towards the temple where her father fights you, but then he cuts the tree that seals Ahriman, the god of darkness.
No! Father, no!
This releases Ahriman, obviously, and now you have to run the hell away. After you get out, you find that the land is corrupt, like in Okami, and now you have to get to these fertile grounds so you can restore and see color. Only if it was that way in Warrior Within. Now this game is pretty non-linear, so you can choose whatever fertile ground you want to do that's available. When you first get to one, you must restore it so there isn't any corruption. There's always a boss waiting there, by the way. When it's restored, it isn't bleak anymore, and you must collect lyces to unlock the power to use these plates. There's 4, and there's these red and blue ones that make you jump around, the yellow one that lets you fly, and a green one lets you literally run walls. You need to be able to use these to go to certain fertile grounds. Once you restore all the fertile grounds in an area, you have to go to these areas to finish off the bosses and run away as the areas fall apart. There are 4 main recurring bosses in specific areas. There's the Hunter, the Alchemist, the Concubine, and the Warrior. Each time you get to the fertile ground or get close to it, you fight these things. They all have some sort of personality, but they're not very interesting at all. Like, I got really sick of how annoying the Concubine is, especially since she makes you chase her around with illusions. I really hate characters who use illusions or anything to do with them. So fucking dumb. Speaking of art, this game is just beautiful. I have a hard time believing this came out in 2008. It uses cel shading and watercolors, and the result is a bright environment that can really pop, so the climbing is so much easier. In the areas of where the alchemist is, it's really polluted and it still looks disgusting when you restore the land, but after you kill it off in their sanctuary, it looks surprisingly pretty. Look at this. You really don't get any more acrobatic climbing than this, especially when Drake starts defying gravity by crawling on the ceiling. What? Can you do it as well? Man, ancient Persian people must all be badasses. The climbing is like the perfect blend of Assassin's Creed and the other Prince of Persia games. It has a nice flow, but you still have to think where you're going. All of your climbing is done by the jump button, and you can also use a gauntlet to go down walls, unlike the last games where you can only use them on banners on the wall. Alaka can also boost your jump, and if you have a bad reflexes, these can really screw you over. But the screen does turn white whenever you're going to fall to your death, so it really shouldn't be a problem. There isn't any traps in this game, and also you don't die. I'm not kidding when I say you really don't die in this game. Ever. That was the main complaint with the game, apparently. When you fall to your death, Alaka always saves you and go back to the nearest safe platform. Even in combat, she always saves you. Not that I really have a problem with this. If you want to play such a brutal game, just play Dark Souls or even Mario the Lost freaking Levels if you're looking for a platformer. Oh my god, the last one's just pure evil. The combat in this game is really timing based. By that, I mean there's a lot of quick time events. Thankfully, unlike the last game, or pretty much any game, you only fight one enemy at a time. Since you don't see a health bar, you might wonder what happens when you get hit. Well, you get hurt, obviously, and you're more vulnerable to quick time events. When you take another hit, or whenever the game feels like it, you go into a QTE where if you fail, Alaka saves you, as always, but the enemy regains some of its health. You can block, and if you time it right, you can deflect the enemy attack. This is the best moment to use your combos if the game feels like it. You have your basic sword attacks, aerial attacks, throwing enemies into the air with the gauntlet, and Alaka can help out as well. Your combos can include volleyball and
Work your magic!
Later into the game, the enemy makes it so that only specific attack works on them. This can sometimes be a problem since the enemy can just knock you away when you get close enough, and get pretty annoying. In this game, your companion Alaka is always with you. Well, okay, I think you guessed that since she always saves you from death. Drake can also have conversations with her, which sometimes can be pretty hilarious.
Why do you wear that scarf?
It's lucky.
I didn't think you believed in that sort of thing.
I don't. But maybe it believes in me.
The conversations are interesting as Alaka and Drake's personality is pretty different, so you can see their different perspectives on things. Alaka is more knowledgeable, and she pretty much explains the backstory of every area in the game. Drake, or the Prince as people call him, has a pretty cheerful personality and has a good sense of humor. Now, the two main characters speak in modern day English and doesn't really have an accent. This seems to be another complaint from some people, but honestly, I'm not the kind of guy who really cares about that kind of stuff. As long as it's not a heavy Japanese accent, I'm fine. The problem in this game is that it kind of gets repetitive as it goes on. All the characters seem to sound really tired compared to the beginning of the game. It also doesn't help that in combat, I swear the enemy starts blocking everything you try to hit, and then deflecting enemy attacks doesn't seem to do anything. Another problem is ending. I won't spoil it, but there is an epilogue DLC for this game. The only problem, it isn't available for the PC! So I searched on YouTube for some walkthrough of it, and get this. The ending to that is also a cliffhanger! Like, the fuck? Well, there is a sequel to it, but it's an obscure game on the DS like Altair Chronicles, so I've only seen one copy of it in my life. Also, it has terrible controls, but that doesn't really matter right now. This game started off great for me. As time went on, it fell off a little bit, but it's still a great game. Now the music, I swear there's only 6 songs, and I refuse to believe that the soundtrack is an hour long. This game uses mostly the same music throughout the game, so remember them for sure. I mean, I was using them in the background this whole time. The graphics was pretty good, and the climbing was excellent. The combat was iffy at times, with the Rambo glitches. I recommend anybody this game as a good first game for newcomers to the franchise. But how will Ubisoft take the Prince from here? Find out next time on Forgotten Sands.